this video, I've composed 5 of what I believe to be the most underrated horror films ever. Like, I never hear anybody talk about these. I think they're great. I watch them regularly. I just feel like these are movies more people need eyes on and more people need recommendations. I know you guys like those. Well, as I'm talking about these, join me in the comment section down below. Let me know your thoughts on any of these. I've not done reviews on any of these movies, so if you do want any of these reviewed, if they get enough traction, comment down below. Maybe if enough people want a specific movie, I'll review it for y'all. Also, like the video. It helps the channel. Subscribe. Join me. I do lists like this all the time. Horror movie recommendations, new releases, things for the season. Be sure to join me down below. Join the channel. I got a ton of other videos like this already out and on the way. Let's talk underrated horror films, shall we? I tried to be diverse in this. These are movies I own. I tried to make kind of a hodgepodge of different subgenres. There should be something here for just about all of you guys based on your preferences, so I tried to mix it up a bit. But these are 5 movies if you have not seen. Go watch them immediately. They're very good. We're going to start off with a psychological thriller starring Jason Bateman, The Gift. This movie is crazy underrated. I watched this with a friend just recently, and they could have sworn this was the best movie they've seen of the decade. They love this film. Kind of hard to explain without giving away too much, but I always say this in my reviews. This is one of those films, starts off one thing, completely changes into something else. So if you're a fan of that, you can correlate that to what I usually say. This one could be for you. But describing it in a general sense, it stars Jason Bateman and Rebecca Hall, and basically those two are married and they run into this guy who's from his high school. And from that point on, their lives start getting progressively weirder the more he gets involved. This guy that he hasn't seen in almost 20 years keeps leaving him gifts at the house anonymously. Things just keep getting progressively creepier and more unsettling up into an ending I don't think anybody can guess that is bound to be memorable. This is one of the most insane psychological thrillers ever made that nobody talks about, as I said. And from the time I saw this in movie theaters, I have loved it. I've seen it so many times, and I feel like every time I watch it, it gets a little bit better, and I notice something else that's a little bit smarter about it. I think the strength of this film is to know nothing about it going into it. This is the movie I would recommend on this list if you love psychological thrillers, you love movies with a twist, and you just love movies that are kind of surprising and keep you guessing with where the weirdness is going to go. It gets pretty damn weird in the second half. The next movie I'm going to talk about on this list is kind of similar to The Gift in that it's not a full-on horror movie. It's kind of an action thriller, kind of silly, a comedy at points. That movie is Abe Lincoln Vampire Hunter. If you know, you know. I have never heard anybody else talk about this film. I do not understand why. I know silly horror movies are a big thing for a lot of people. This is one of the better dumb ones. The concept of the film is kind of asinine and silly, but it's also legitimately creative, the way it manages to weave in narratives from history and just make it all come back to the central theme of Abraham Lincoln was like a closet vampire hunter. Another one that's kind of hard to explain until you've seen it, I guess, but it's just Abraham Lincoln killing vampires, all of it relating back to his presidency and the Union and just all of these silly stuff that you would take for granted until you see the way they show it and you go, maybe that's what actually happened. This one's just on the list because I never hear anybody talk about it. I have a great time with it whenever I see it on TV. I liked it when it was in theaters. And if you're somebody who likes silly horror movies, I know a lot of people are in that camp nowadays. We get a lot of horror comedies. Give this one a look if you've never heard of it. It's a lot better than it sounds, trust me. Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. Fun little time, as stupid as it is, I love it. The next movie on this list, I would say is legitimately great. In fact, it was my favorite movie the year it came out. I was just not on YouTube yet. That being said, it's a science fiction movie, really good, and it is called Upgrade. The film is directed by Lee Winnell, and if you follow my channel, you know I put a premium on smart writing. I understand being able to turn my brain off, suspend disbelief. This movie is crazy smart for a horror thriller. So basically what this movie's about, you have this main character who gets in a severe car accident with his wife, and she is brutally murdered in the aftermath. He is left paralyzed. He signs up for this trial thing where you have this like AI chip put in your body and it upgrades his entire body so that he becomes like a super person. This was one of those experiences. I only have this experience a couple of times a year. When I saw this movie for the first time, this was one of those moments where about 20-30 minutes into the film, I was really enjoying it. But then something crazy happens where this movie kind of takes a big shift and you start realizing where it's probably going to end up going. And from that point on, my jaw was open and I was loving this thing. And it felt like every 20 minutes or so, this movie kind of reinvented itself and got even crazier and smarter. There's nonstop action for a section of the film. There is extreme gore in this film. There's one scene in particular that caught me off guard that I was just like, holy I showed this to a person and they were like scarred by it. So this movie has everything I want in a horror film. It's super creative, it's got action, it's got gore, it's smart, it's got an ending that you will not forget that just wraps it all up in a genius way. I love this film, and I know some people like it as well. I just never hear anybody gush about it like this, so I need to put you guys onto it. I believe it's on streaming right now, Netflix, at least it used to be. You're probably noticing a trend in this video. This next movie is another one that I like a lot, but I never hear anybody talk about. That one is Jigsaw. This movie is on the list if you like game movies, especially the Saw franchise. You want something, again, that you will probably never see coming when you get to the end. That's kind of the infamous thing of Saw at this point. For as big as the Saw franchise is, I have no idea why people don't talk about Jigsaw. I actually think it's probably the Saw movie I've seen the most by far. Another one of these films, whenever I show it to somebody or I tell them to watch it, I say, I'll give you $100 if you can figure that movie out. You will never figure that movie out. And they always feel so confident because they see a lot of movies, they've seen the Saw films, and they just go, oh yeah, I'm gonna know how this one ends. You're not gonna know, I promise you. One of the most ridiculous wrap-ups of this franchise, and if you're somebody who loves that entire thing that Saw does, where it always does this big reveal at the end, if you've seen one Saw movie, you've kind of seen them all, but it's doing the same thing here where you follow a game that's centralized around like 4 or 5 people, and it's actually not that gory. I know the Saw movies kind of just went off the cliff at a certain point and they were just killing people for the sake of entertainment. There was really no story to them. Me being one of the weirdos who kind of always watched this franchise for the story and the twists is okay with that. I don't need to see people's limbs getting spun around every 5 minutes, so probably another reason I like this one a good bit. Yeah, I never hear anybody talk about this. They talk about how great Saw X was and some of the sequels in the early beginning, but I think this one is probably like the best sequel of Saw aside from the original couple. It's completely disconnected from that convoluted story that went on like 15 movies. So if you like the Saw movies and you skip this one because you said it's another Saw film, Jigsaw, how many spin-offs can we do? And if you're one of those people who loves a great reveal and likes to have your brain picked where you're trying to figure out this big puzzle as it's going, this is the one that gets the nod, because I think it has the best ending in the franchise. And lastly, I could never conclude any horror list I do without talking about a movie I think is legitimately scary or an actually great horror film. And the movie I think that nobody talks about enough when it comes to that is The Autopsy of Jane Doe. If you're one of the people who watches lists like these to find legitimately scary and creepy movies, this is the one that gets the nod for me. In the movie, you have 2 people who are performing an autopsy one night on a Jane Doe, and they do not know who she is or how she died. But during the course of the movie, you're going to spend time with these 2 characters on a stormy night as they perform an autopsy on a body they do not know, and things just start getting progressively weirder as they try to solve the mystery of who she is and why she's there. I always say this, but I don't find a lot of movies to be scary. I know when they would probably be creepy to other people. I know when things are effectively like suspenseful, not to inflate your expectations too much, because I've said this about a couple of films as well. I think the first half of this film, before it kind of changes into something else, is probably legitimately a top 20 scary, creepy movie ever made. I find the buildup of this film when you are alone in a funeral home, it's dimly lit, there's a storm outside, and you're getting progressively creepier things introduced to be so effective. When I first saw this film, the hairs on my neck were standing up. It worked so well. And I'm not somebody who usually says that. So if you're somebody who comes to lists like this on YouTube to find the scary, creepy movie you can show to all your friends, watch The Autopsy of Jane Doe with them on a very dark, creepy, rainy night and tell me it's not effective. I do believe the first half of this movie is better than the second half, but I do enjoy it all entirely. A movie I usually watch around Halloween time, and every time I watch it, I am so into the buildup. There you go, guys. That's 5 underrated horror films to check out right now if you've never seen any of them. I recommend all of them. They all get my seal of approval if you trust anything I have to say. Again, join me down below if you like videos like this, or comment down below your thoughts on any of these, or any of them you love specifically. Other than that, I will see you in my next video.